Welcome to episode 2 of Weather Nerds. I'm your First Alert Weather Nerd host, C.D. Finley, otherwise known as First Alert Meteorologist, C.D. Finley. Just me today. Brady is out. Likely won't be here until later this afternoon. So you just got me today. But we have a lot to talk about, so let's go ahead and jump right on into it. So hopefully we're not running into any audio issues or anything like that right now. But I'm sure the thing that's on many of your minds with our local headlines, at least in the weather department from this past week and even the last 24 hours of this at the time of this recording, is all the dust that we had up in the air from this past week. So again, Tuesday, March 4th was a busy weather day here in Central Texas. And as we take a look at the Facebook page here on KWTX, you can even just see how busy it really truly was. This is the difference between some of our News 10 sky cams as the dust started to blow in. You can see the Gatesville sky cam very clear there around noon, and then around 2:30 got very hazy. And same goes for the Lake Belton and downtown Waco sky cams. All that dust blew in thanks to some very strong westerly winds. These winds were blowing sustained about 20 to 40 miles an hour with gusts up to 60. So definitely a very busy day there in terms of the weather. And even as we kind of scroll through there, you can see this video was actually taken in Lubbock, Texas, and just how hard that wind was blowing all that dust across the street there. And this was a video that was taken by our own reporter, Isabella Quintanilla, who recorded this on Highway 6 on our way to Marlin. Pretty much the same story, dust blowing in all over the place from West Texas all the way to here in Central Texas. So that was kind of the big headline today, and you could even see it on satellite radar there, the dust blowing in from the west. And the other thing that was kind of a big story was all of the showers and thunderstorms that we had earlier on in the morning. We went from talking about severe weather all the way to, dry and dusty and fire danger. So it was a very busy weather day on Tuesday, March 4th. And it's kind of topical because we have a pretty interesting interview today that I want to go ahead and get to. I had the privilege of speaking with meteorologist Patricia Sanchez, who is from the National Weather Service in Fort Worth. And she got to talk to me, or I got to speak with her a little bit about Severe Weather Awareness Week, which is actually here this week, of the week of March 5th, which is the time of this recording. So let's go ahead and hear from meteorologist Patricia Sanchez and see what she has to say about what Severe Weather Awareness Week actually is and how it is you can be involved. Hey everybody, so I am here with meteorologist Patricia Sanchez from the National Weather Service in Fort Worth, and we're here to talk a little bit more about what's going on with Severe Weather Awareness Week. So Patricia, thank you so much for being willing to meet with me today and talk a little bit more about severe weather and what we can do to bring awareness to it. Obviously, we're heading into springtime. We're already in the month of March, and we already have a few chances for some strong to severe weather on the horizon that we're already talking about as meteorologists. So first and foremost, why don't you go ahead and tell me a little bit about what Severe Weather Awareness Week actually is?
Yeah, no, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to share. We always take this kind of like a week through the early spring season just to kind of raise awareness of the severe weather, not only, of course, for the spring season, but, we know that could happen any time of the year. So we kind of like highlighting that, the different topics on each day that we try to not only preparedness, but, word the different terminology, what to do in a different situation. So we're very excited to be able to take that, and people can keep sharing it and then just raise the awareness across the community.
Yeah, absolutely. So I imagine this is a whole week-long thing, and I know just based on some of the research that I did earlier, it sounds like different offices in different states do Severe Weather Awareness Week at different times. So this, for Texas, obviously, is this upcoming week, March 3rd all the way through 5th, 6th, that may be a little too short, but all the way through the next week, essentially. And so, with all of these kinds of things happening at different times of the year, what kind of things is it about severe weather that you guys are trying to bring awareness to specifically?
Yeah, definitely, like you mentioned, different states, different region, depending on the hazards. We still know that, officially, March 1st, it started kind of that meteorological spring, but there's still so many areas across other states that's still dealing with winter weather. So depending on where you are, that's how it kind of changes from state to state. But even, our big state as Texas, we kind of cover a big area. So definitely can still change. Some of the offices might still wait a little bit longer for even including some of the tropical awareness as well. So yeah, so we kind of like just get together and then just highlighting at least for the next several weeks, which is always good because that way we continue to share informational graphics even for the next few days, the next few weeks, as we kind of continue to highlight. But we kind of like divide it into different topics, especially for this time. We want to highlight that severe weather potential, which we kind of know, and we always remind folks that when we're talking about severe weather, we're looking, that large, the hail, at least a quarter inch. We're looking at damaging winds greater than 58 miles per hour, kind of like stronger winds where we're looking at damaging, either, trees and structures, etc. And then we're looking, of course, at tornadoes, as I know, and we know that a lot of people are kind of more enthusiastic for the tornadoes, but we know they're still very dangerous as well. And then last but not least, flooding. We always want to make sure that, in the spring season, we have this either fronts or systems that come bring different multiple rounds of rain and flooding. And since we don't usually see it often, then we want to make sure that people know and how to stay prepared for that time.
Yeah, absolutely. Honestly, like you kind of hit on already. I mean, there's so many different modes and types of severe weather, and of course, here in Texas, as you mentioned, tornadoes and flooding are probably some of the two bigger ones that we,
Mhm.
experience, especially during storm season. So, when it comes to tornadoes and floodings, what kind of advice would you, as a meteorologist, give to people who might run into that kind of a hazard? What would you necessarily want to do in that kind of a situation?
Yeah, so depending, we always, if you put me a question like when you have both hazards at the same time, we always tell, for tornadoes, you always want to make sure that you always go to the lower, the lower floor, away from windows, of course, away from, that indoor closet, away from doors, kind of like keep you inside that they're in that interior room. And then for flooding, most of the time you always want to make sure you rate, you go to higher level, higher ground. So when we're looking for one or the other, we always want to highlight, try to prioritize the hazard. You get your flash flood warning, and then of course, yeah, you're looking outside, you're looking, okay, the water is coming in, is faster, but I see the difference between, is the water already coming into your house, and then you receive a tornado warning right away, and then you kind of prioritize, okay, at this point I need to make sure I go to my interior room, away from windows, kind of that central location. And then that way you can still prioritize the hazard at that point, and then you can make the decision. But we know with for flooding, that one thing that we always highlight, people should know where they live. Like if they know their flooded area, you shouldn't be there when they're, for example, a flood watch. The hazards, especially even areas across the coast that, hurricanes can bring a lot of rain and a lot of flooding. Kind of like make that decision ahead of time and making that plan ahead of time too. So in that situation, you're not kind of stuck into those hazards.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always better to be proactive no matter the situation, like you said. I
Hmm.
mean, that's kind of why the National Weather Service exists, is we're, getting all these forecasts out for people to be aware of the situations and
Hmm.
hazards that could come up within the near future. So definitely some good information to know. And when it comes to Severe Weather Awareness Week, obviously bringing awareness to all of these kinds of different situations that you can run into and what to do in those situations. What is it that people can do to kind of maybe become a little bit more involved with severe weather awareness? Are there events that they can attend? Are there things that they can learn? What is it that the general public can do in order to become a little bit more a part of this?
No, and that's a great question, and I'm really glad that you're asking because we always want to make sure we start usually with our social media campaigns. We take a lot of time to kind of put together graphics that can be, even used at any other time of the year. So kind of joining us in our social media platforms really helps, just to kind of share, retweet, reshare, repost, as kind of like just very, I know everybody just, in their phone all the time. So really kind of having that time to really share that information, even taking screenshot and share it with your family and with your friends. At this point, yeah, we're not kind of not doing an actual in-person event for this year, but that's a great idea, kind of like a resource that and kind of people can really just join. But at least, yeah, with that social media kind of connection that virtually we can really connect, we can really kind of reach other audiences across pretty much the entire region. And we are a pretty big area that we cover. So kind of being able to really interact with our community, taking that, saving that image, you save it for a different time. You can share with your family and friends, really helps spreading the word.
Absolutely, yeah. More people you can spread the word to, the more people are aware of any situations that are going on. So that's all really, really great stuff right there. Well, Patricia, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it, and helping bring awareness to Severe Weather Awareness Week. Keeping everybody safe out there. Thank you so much for what you do, and we really appreciate it. And thank you so much.
Of course, you're welcome. I'm so excited to keep sharing it, and we'll talk anytime soon.
So as you heard there, some great information about Severe Weather Awareness Week from meteorologist Patricia Sanchez. And again, if you're interested in becoming a little bit more involved with what Severe Weather Awareness Week actually is, and just sharing weather information in general, there's one way you can do it, and that is, it wasn't mentioned through the interview, but you can go to the Facebook page or the Instagram page or just social media page in general of the U.S. National Weather Service in Fort Worth, Texas, or your local forecast office. And you can see as we scroll down, they're always posting all kinds of weather information. And you can even see this video here from yesterday, March 4th, where they were trying to launch the weather balloon in the very, very gusty winds that we had that day. So they post a lot of really, really good weather information. You can see there about the dust and stuff like that. And they even made some posts about tornadoes and road safety, the difference between a watch and a warning. Obviously, they do this kind of stuff when we're expecting to see severe weather roll in anytime in the nearby forecast. All kinds of stuff, and you can even see here on March 3rd they had some topics for Severe Weather Awareness Week on that hashtag right there. So many different ways that you can participate in Severe Weather Awareness Week if you weren't already aware of that already. So yeah, wonderful news there, wonderful things to know. Again, as we head into March, April, May, this is kind of the beginning of storm season, so to speak. So it's definitely that kind of time of year to be be more proactive when it comes to our weather information, and always be prepared for things that are more than likely to come. So that was a little bit about that local headline today. And again, another headline that I'm sure many of you are curious about as well is the planetary alignment that we had from this past week. So let's go ahead and take a look here. This is the weather graphic that I actually used for an explainer that many of you may have seen via social media, and you can kind of get the general layout of what these planets were like. Again, just a few days ago, this was actually at the end of last week, and you can see Mars and Jupiter and Venus were all pretty easy to see. Mercury and Saturn, you had to kind of squint your eyes at the horizon just after sunset to be able to see them, and then Neptune and Uranus, obviously you had to have the help of a telescope for that one. But very, very beautiful sight. And the thing I want to show you today on today's podcast is this time lapse that was captured at my house, actually, believe it or not. This time lapse was taken by a GoPro that we put on the roof of our house, and it gave to some beautiful sights that evening. So let's go ahead and take a look here. Obviously, the planets are not going to appear like they did in the graphic. They're just going to be little white speckles. But and if we can restart it there. Oh, let's go back and hit restart. There we go. So you can see the sun is setting, and if you squint your eyes really hard, you can see that tiny dot. That would be Mercury, and then the brighter one that's now fading across the horizon, that is Venus. And then there's a few other dots that kind of pop up here. Some of those, two of those at least, might either be Mars or Jupiter. Those were both pretty easy to see in the sky, but it's a pretty interesting time lapse nonetheless. You can just see, how quickly they were moving across the sky before the sun started to rise later on that morning. You can see how clear it was that evening too. It was some great viewing conditions that night for the planetary alignment. And more information about that. I mean, this kind of planetary alignment is very rare. I mean, it was all 7 planets were visible, with a few of them visible to the naked eye. And that kind of thing, this kind of alignment, or at least a similar one, won't happen again for another 15 years. That won't happen again until September 2040. So if you didn't get the opportunity to enjoy it, I hope you enjoyed me showing it to you, and I really hope you did get to take advantage of it, because it was quite a beautiful sight that we won't get to see again for quite some time. So those were the kind of the big hitter headlines. Again, we talked about the severe weather that we had, the dust that we had from this past week. We've talked about the planets. We talked about Severe Weather Awareness Week, which every day should be Severe Weather Awareness this time of year. Again, March, April, May, we're getting into the storm season. So that leaves one question left. What is to come in our forecast? Well, let's go ahead and take a look at the 10-day weather planner here. Not much, if I'm being honest with you. Let's go ahead and pull it back up here. Again, we're kind of quieting down. All those wind gusts and gusty winds that we had from your Tuesday, March 4th, likely kind of calming down. It's going to be a little bit breezy for the next few days, don't get me wrong, but still not too terribly bad. We only have one more rainmaker on the way, and that doesn't arrive until early Saturday before we change the time on early morning March 9th. Again, don't forget to spring your clocks forward if you're watching this before the end of this upcoming weekend at the time of the recording. And then after that, we're talking temperatures 70s, 80s, pretty typical spring-like weather with maybe another rain chance here or there. So that's what we got coming up in the forecast. And again, kind of behind the scenes wise, there's not much else going on. If you didn't catch it already, there's an episode on Degrees of Science about the upcoming lunar eclipse on March 13th and 14th. That'll be coming up here in about a week or two as well. So definitely going to want to check that one out. I actually filled in for Chief Meteorologist Brady Taylor on that one, got to talk about the lunar eclipse a little bit. So that's kind of what we got going on behind the scenes. Again, thank you all so much for tuning in for episode 2 of Weather Nerds. I'm First Alert Weather Nerd CD Finley. Tuning out. Be sure to tune in next week again, around the same time, live on Facebook at 11 a.m., barring any audio issues, and here on the Degrees of Science YouTube channel as well if you can't catch the live recording. Again, thank you so much for watching.